Hey y'all, Melissa here with you today, and today's project is a quick, scrappy project that is perfect to make for gifts. We're making these cute little chapstick holders that go on a keychain. They can either go on a regular key ring or they can do something like these carabiner clips, which then can get clipped onto purses, backpacks, briefcases, wherever the gift recipient wants to keep them. And who doesn't need to have chapstick or lip balm handy? So let me show you how to make these. Here are the supplies you'll need to make this. First, you need to visit the link below and grab the pattern, and then you need to cut out 2 pieces of fabric. You may want to interface your fabric. If you are using something like quilting cotton, I would maybe interface one side. I'm using a linen canvas here, which is a little heavier weight, so I'm not going to interface. Then you need your key ring. You can use a typical split ring key ring, or you might use something like I'm going to use, which is this carabiner clip style key ring. Other tools that might be handy, I will be using a tube turner and a point presser, or sometimes referred to as a point turner as well. First step, take your 2 pieces of fabric, place them right sides together, and then we're going to stitch all around the edges. We do want to leave about a 1-inch gap on one of the long edges. So I'm going to take this over to the machine. And one of the things I like to do when I'm going to be sewing right on the edge of the fabric, this is only a 1/4 inch seam allowance, is instead of having my needle in the center position, I like to move it as far to the right as I can get it. And that allows me to have more fabric under the presser foot while still maintaining that small seam allowance. Once you have your key ring chapstick holder sewn around those edges, you're going to want to clip off the corners to reduce bulk there and be able to turn these out nicely. And in these corners, you want to clip into these corners. Make sure you do not go through that stitching line, and then kind of grade across those corners as well. And then we're going to use our tube turner to turn this right side out. So I'm going to stick that up in there and get the top half turned, and then I have to repeat that on the bottom half. And then use either the tool that comes with the tube turner or like the eraser end of a pencil if you don't have one of these. If you don't have a tube turner, you can turn this right side out using just your fingers. You can also use a safety pin hooked into one end. I actually have a video of some different ways to turn tubes, so I will link to that below and you can check that out for more ideas. But get all those seams and corners pressed out. And then this is actually a blunt end, which is similar to a pencil eraser if you're going to use that, which is why I actually like to use this point turner or point presser tool as well. It's blunted, so I can't push through the corner, but these flat edges and the fact that it's flat really help you get into those corners and push them all the way out. Because I can get that flat edge right against the seam allowance and really get into that corner. And because this is blunted, it doesn't poke through like might happen if you were using, say, a knitting needle or the pointy end of a pencil, which I have totally done, and then I've poked right through the fabric. So you don't want to do that. Okay, once you have this all turned right side out, we're going to need to press it. And as you press it, make sure that this gap that you left, that gets pressed straight as well. And if you have any little threads hanging out from the gap, you want to go ahead and trim those off. Okay, here is what this looks like once it has been pressed. And you can see that the gap where I turned it is still there, but those seam allowances have been pressed to the inside. So now what we need to do is we need to fold up the bottom edge 2 inches. And then the back edge needs to get folded back just to where it covers this little corner here between the tab for the top and the rest of the pouch. And then I'm going to take this over to the machine, and I'm going to be making use of my self-leveling foot quite a few places. So if you don't know how to do that and your presser foot on your machine looks like mine, check out the J-foot video that I've linked below to see how to use yours. It helps you get over these uneven areas where there's thick fabric and your presser foot's kind of trying to go over a hump. If you don't have that on your machine, you may need to help manually feed or hand crank, or even just like pick up your presser foot and push your fabric through in some of these places. So we're going to start off right across the tab, and I want to make sure that I'm stitching through all of the layers of fabric there. And I am going to use my J-foot. And then I'm going to turn and we're going to top stitch around the rest of this. And at the bottom down here, I do want to back stitch. And then I'm going to move this over and I'm going to come at it from the other back edge. Sometimes when you're working on something small like this is another use for the point turner, you can kind of help push the fabric under where you can't get your fingers and you don't want to get your fingers that close to the needle. Okay, I do want to back stitch again. I'm going to stitch right to that stitching line and then stitch across it one more time, and this is going to reinforce that stitching. Okay, now all I need to do is trim off all my little threads, take out my pin, and then add my key ring and add chapstick. And here's my finished project.